Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This is James Parsons, your Chief Executive Officer. Back in 2016, I shared my vision of the sector as being in the middle of a storm. Commodity prices were at all-time lows, while Sound Energy was relatively sheltered in the eye of that storm, our shelter deriving largely from our focus on gas, our low levels of debt, our advantaged access to capital, and our supportive retail shareholder base. Well, 2 years on, it feels appropriate to refresh that vision. The sector, I believe, has now emerged from the storm. Oil prices are structurally higher and still rising. Institutions are returning to the sector. Our competitors, nearly without exception, are focused on building low-risk, production-led businesses. Well, Sound is different. Raising equity to purchase small-scale production runs the risk of simply recycling cash rather than adding value. Whilst it does provide management teams with cash flows to cover G&A, unless really delivered at sufficient scale to pay dividends or fund a capital program, it is value neutral at best. The strategy underpinning Sound Energy is to secure early stage, high quality but overlooked assets counter-cyclically and to steward those through the high risk, high reward exploration phase and then to sell after success. Now, this strategy isn't without its unique challenges, and amongst those is the inherent volatility of a share price, which can be driven in large part by sentiment and momentum. Sound views development as an inherently slow-paced, low-return and capital-intensive activity. We're pleased to have Energas and Schlumberger on the ticket here, but ultimately we believe that in eastern Morocco there are other companies who are more natural owners of what we expect to be a material hydrocarbon province on a regional scale. Our explicit strategy, therefore, is to be technically led, but unashamedly risk-on. We want to be the stock you turn to for 10-bagger returns, the sex and violence in your portfolio, the stock that you would pine if you were to sell and that you would kick yourself forever if you were not on the register when results land. Inherent in this strategy is returning cash to shareholders after success. Now, our business has never been in better shape. Most of you know our story by now. We have an existing discovery from 2016-17 and huge exploration running room in eastern Morocco. And looking back for a moment, the last 12 months have been spent shooting new seismic, certifying the scale of our existing discovery, preparing for development, preparing also for the forthcoming 3 exploration well program. The highlights here, well, they include the concession award, the new petroleum agreement for our exploration licenses in both eastern and southern Morocco, the completion of the seismic program de-risking our structures, the aerial gradiometry, the reframed agreement with Schlumberger, the FEED award and BOT exclusivity with an Energas-led consortium, the Italy divestment and distribution of the consideration, the reserve certification in Tendrara, and also getting out and meeting nearly 500 of you across 4 regional events, multiple fireside chats, and our technical deep dive. Now, along the way, there has also been a lot of noise, and by noise, I mean things that attract a disproportionate amount of attention but are not actually fundamental value drivers for our business. And examples here would be the groundworks timeline or director trades driven by a trading plan set up 6 months ago. At the end of the day, this will all prove to be just noise. Now, let's be honest here. We haven't drilled since summer 2017, and that is simply too long. Exploration companies need to drill and inevitably are only as good as their last well result. In fact, many investors have shared with me that the last 12 months has also felt a little different to them. And I think on balance, that's probably fair. The seismic well, it was absolutely necessary and has hugely de-risked our structures, but I admit it was painful in terms of news flow, sentiment and momentum. This, combined with the fact we've not been drilling, accounts, I believe, for much of that perceived difference. But we're also a maturing company, and we've broadened our team considerably, consciously bringing in different skill sets, and with it, a different communication style and a different language. In a business like ours, there is absolutely a place for the science. But there is also a time to lead from the front, bringing impact, influence, and inspiration. And for me, now is that time. Frankly speaking, I was never a practice player. I'm the guy who shows up on game day. And make no mistake, the next 6 months, we are most definitely game on. And so now, we find ourselves ready to start drilling again 3 very material prospects underpinned by the best science in the world. And let me just remind you of the numbers here. TE9, our first well, mid-case, will double our resources, and in an upside case, a 3x. TE10, our second well, mid-case alone, would be a 5x on resources, with an upside representing a 9x. And if they both come in, that's a 6x mid-case and an 11x upside case. And these are Taggy-only numbers. The Paleozoic could be larger still. And TE11 and the paleo structures to the north of the license are shaping up to be bigger than all of the rest combined. And the results of these wells all fall within the next 6 months. Now, we're not able to provide a running commentary on liquidity event planning, and inevitably, the closer we get, the less we're able to say. But let me add one thing. Whilst I can't comment further, I am happy to share that we continue to receive approaches from third parties who are interested in the company's portfolio. You know, when you reflect on how far we have come, I believe that few, if any, AIM oil and gas companies would have even tried to pull off something quite so audacious as opening a new regional province with the capital and management constraints inherent in being an exploration company. The fact that we have now arrived at the brink of pulling this off whilst retaining such a large interest in the licence, nearly 50%, is, I believe, quite unique. It is a testament to our team, our partners and our shareholders. And as an investor recently said to me, history, or at least the textbooks on oil and gas exploration, await us. And as we write that history, it is time, I would suggest, for all of us to get behind the team. We're like a top-tier football team in the finals of the World Cup, taking penalties at the end of a very, very long match. We've practiced for this all of our lives, and it comes down to this moment. 3 shots at goal. It will be heart-thumping, exhilarating, and yet also deadly, deadly serious. This really matters. And you will find me, along with the team on the pitch, arm in arm. And as investors, you're all invited to link arms with us and ride this last leg of the journey together. It is finally time to discover what is at the bottom of this particular rabbit hole.